Hello, everyone. We are doing something called True 3030, which is basically an idea of our members reaching out to us over the weekend with stories that they thought were either crazy, unfounded, or they want to know more about. So that's what we're doing today. Some of the subjects, we're going to cover the Iran war for all the obvious reasons. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the deleterious effects of that war specific to farming. And we're going to end the conversation with the golden calf discussion. In case you guys don't know what that is, you will soon find out. So I'm here with my producer, Sean X, and we are going to go through these topics as best as possible. Hi, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a happy Monday. So I don't know. Why don't you share some of the comments we got specific to they want to know more about what's going on in Iran.
For the most part, people have said, okay, what's the nuance with the war going in Iran? Because we keep on hearing it's on again, it's off again, it's affecting prices, it's not affecting prices.
Yeah, so the New York Times has Iran war, long-term energy discussions specific to Iran defended its demands for a peace deal, and President Trump called them garbage. Mr. Trump said he wanted to suspend the federal gasoline tax. So obviously everyone knows that gas has been affected by the Straits of Hormuz being shut down because of this war. We're now seeing gas prices at what?
It's $6.35
for regular?
For regular in San Francisco. It's $6.74 for premium. And
diesel
it's
fuel's
$7.80 for diesel. A lot of it is from California policies. And some of it is from the pipelines or gas can't reach us. We're a gas island. If a refinery goes down, we're screwed. So for the most part, we pay the worst gas prices. So we're feeling the biggest effect here.
So we are up over $1 compared to the rest of you folks out there in the United States of America. And Donald Trump wants to suspend the gasoline tax, which is how much?
It's 18 cents.
18 cents. So
do you know what 18 cents means for those of us in California? With the gas prices I just mentioned, it's 2 to 3%. Yeah, every little bit helps. But it's really our California regulations that are things that are screwing us.
I read a meme recently that said, Donald Trump is so awesome that my truck only used to hold $59 worth of gas, and now it holds $130, which I thought was brilliant. So whoever wrote that, good for you. But yeah, the gas tax is not going to help us. And for us, no.
It's not going to help us. Like, what we need help with is all the regulations in our state. And let that make us, a lot of people don't understand. We use different gasoline here.
We do. And it's actually called CARB, which stands for California Air Resources Board, in case you guys have never heard of it, because I sure haven't. And it basically means that our gas burns cleaner, reduces smog, lowers certain pollutants, and it's chemically different from gasoline used in the rest of the country. So when they say that we're a gas island or an actual island on its own, that's what they mean by our taxes. So yeah, I don't think the suspending the gas tax is going to work. And by the way, he has to get congressional approval to do so. So there's another wrinkle.
Dude, we need more help than from the federal government.
So those are all problems that I can say that we have an issue with. But as we know, this is affecting everyone, not only the day-to-day people, but farmers specifically, because a lot of farmers use diesel fuel as opposed to regular fuel. And so let's talk a little bit about that, dude. I just moved back to Minnesota to be with my mommy for her 86th birthday. And it was cool. And I don't know, I think most of our listeners understand that I grew up there. I've been in California for now 44 years. And I have a lot of buddies, both from high school here in California, as well as the people I grew up with in Minnesota who are in the farming business.
Yeah, they're also tend to be more conservative than out in California. I mean,
all my friends from Minnesota are red hatters. Not all, but most. And then most of my relatives are red hatters as well. I've been talking to them for the 4 years that I've been reporting on politics. They come to me because they say I don't judge them and that, they know I love them. And so they're just like, Joey, what's actually going on? Yeah, and that's kind of why we wanted to start this program as well, is that if I'm reaching out to my Republican friends all the time on a DL basis, which is kind of funny, they don't explain to everyone else, hey, I called Joey, I want to know what was going on. That's really what I try to do with my friends and relatives on the other side of the aisle, if you will. And what we tried to explain to them specific to gas is that I have a buddy of mine who's a soybean farmer in the Midwest, and he called me previous to the election and said, what do I need to know? And I tried to explain to him, I said, hey, buddy, look at where you're getting your potash, because I knew he was actually getting potash. Potash, about 80% of our potash comes from Canada. In Project 2025, the Trump administration announced that they actually did want to tariff potash. And I told my buddy, I said, hey, just if you can, try to find another source, look at supply chain issues, figure out that specific to your EBITDA, because farms, if you guys don't know out there, farmers run at a very small margin to begin with. And if there's increased prices specific to tariffs, which is on the potash, the Mexico-Canadian free trade agreement that Trump actually launched in 2017, which was a good free trade agreement. He blew it up, said it was the worst deal ever. And now we have supplies specific to John Deere, other maintenance issues that are going across the borders of Mexico and Canada, which is also putting up their prices. And some of the things that I talked about specific to the numerous farmers that I've talked to over the last month is that the Farmer Bureau is actually saying that, and I'll just hit it here, fertilizer pre-booking rates up 19%. 70% of farmers being interviewed are unable to afford all the fertilizer they need, so they're actually planting less. And farm diesel prices have increased by 46% since the end of February. So nearly 6 in 10 farmers report worsening finances, rising fertilizer, fuel cost during plant season, and the immediate economic assistance to keep these open is probably going to help this year, but they're worried. They're very worried about next year. So yeah. That's the biggest.
Well, a lot of them, as you said, they pre-book. So
they're running out.
They'll order out, and now it's running out. So now the effects are hitting them.
Yeah.
So what were their main concern to you? What are they asking you?
They're just asking me what I think, based on my reporting, based on the homework we're doing here at 2:30, to figure out, what do you guys see an end of this war? President Trump has said very publicly that there's so much disarray in Iran that there is actually no leadership to negotiate with. And if you read up on this, the Iranian leadership specifically are Abbas Araghchi.
Well, that is a problem when you bomb their leadership.
Well, he did mention that. He did mention that. He did kill the people they wanted to replace Khomeini. But I don't see an end of the war. Obviously, there's a lot of people talking about that. We've had some war correspondents on the show to talk about the externalities of this war and the longevity and the possibly forever war specific to anything in the Middle East based on our history, based on us being the United States. I think what we're going to try to explore here at True 30, some of the experts we're bringing on in the next couple months, we'll be talking about what they have referred to as an asymmetric war, and the war is no longer about kinetic destruction.
Joey, what do you mean by asymmetric war?
Great question. So asymmetric war in this sense is that historically kinetic war, we have big battleships, we have destroyers, we have the biggest military in the world. Iran's known this for as long as it's existed. So the way they fight us means that asymmetry to what we're doing. So if we're launching a $4 million...
It's not equal. It's like if we can't launch $10 million missiles at $10,000 drones all day.
That's it.
Okay.
That's a big piece of it. There's also something called mosquito boats. So there's these little tiny boats with engines and people and guns, and they go after the big boats like our destroyers. And that's how they're actually taking Straits of Hormuz under siege, if you will.
So basically, they're not blowing up anything now, but they're essentially taking it hostage because of these things.
Through strategies that involve less dollars.
Yeah, they have a lot less dollars.
They plant a bunch of mines in the Straits of Hormuz because there's most of the narrowways. Some actual throughput is like 2 miles wide. It's very narrow, so they can actually take from the ground, from the coasts, and defend it. They can defend it with the mosquito boats that I was talking about. They can defend it with drones. And then something that not a lot of people talk about is the topography of Iran to begin with. It's approximately 4 times the size of Iraq. And I mention that because when we had a surge in Iraq, I think we had 170,000 soldiers during the surge, 150,000 now. And one of the big things, and I think we learned this in our interview with Tom Shanker, the New York time.
Dude, that was a great interview, man.
Yeah, he's so smart.
I think you were right about Bibi. I think like he convinced Trump.
That's my.
I think. Oh, like I'm sorry, man. It's like, dude, somebody said, if we go into Iran, the people will rise up. The problem is the people had just risen up and they got slaughtered. I mean, if you take out 10 to 20,000 protesters, guess what? All the people that are likely to lead the charge are gone.
Well, and yes, and people see people being slaughtered. That's not good for them either. So yeah, I mean, that's what I mean by asymmetric war, buddy. That's where we are today.
Dude.
So I think one of the things that we can admit across the board is that we, America, have proven to be unbelievably powerful in our military might. So what we did in Venezuela, where we swooped in and pulled out Nicolas Maduro in the middle of the night, put him in a Rikers prison, maybe one of the most efficient, wonderfully produced.
Efficient leadership changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the regime change didn't happen. I think that was where Donald Trump got very excited about how he can go into other countries. And with Netanyahu coming in specifically to his war room and saying, hey, I think we can go, Iran's weak. I think we can get him today. Let's go after him. Obviously, that's what took place on February 28th. Now we're seeing, 8 weeks later, this very small military excursion, as he called it, has moved into a full-blown war. But back to my Republican friends and farmers, everything they mentioned to me in my one-on-ones with them, their fertilizer, their diesel fuel, their supplies, their maintenance, they're scared.
They're going under. These are places that operate on like a 3 to 5% margin if they're lucky.
Yeah,
and we're talking about 20. And you're talking about expenses that are just through the roof. Yeah. We talked about the farmers. There's also global aspects of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the Strait of Hormuz closing is most important to Japan, South Korea, China, and India. And you mentioned to me, one of our members was literally asking about, because they are international, they were asking about the international effect that this is having.
Well, Prime Minister Modi actually asked all of his 1.4 billion citizens to cut back on gas and anything to do with fertilizer or anything to do with the things that we now have a shortage in. LNG, for those who don't know,
liquefied natural
gas. Liquefied natural gas is something that most people have never really talked about, but please understand it's this. What we use LNG for is fertilizer-intensive food, electronics, textiles, plastics, household utility bills. Again, guys, what we're going to try and do is bring some experts on the show to talk to these specifically. We're going to bring some economists on, and we're going to talk about the longevity of this war. Is it possible with the ceasefire? What does that mean?
Well, the nature of warfare has changed. People, and this is where I'll totally agree with the Republicans, like people are growing frustrated with a war that is literally only 60 days old.
Yeah.
It's just the fear of the effects long term. So Trump is going to China. What do you think he hopes to accomplish there?
I think he hopes to accomplish some type of a trade deal. I don't know if he's going to jump down on the tariffs or not, but I do know that this Iran war is not helping his negotiations with Xi, because obviously America is the biggest foe of China. I do know that there's rumor around the campfire that Donald Trump is trying to negotiate numerous deals specific to tariffs and opening up more markets here in America that he's shut down based on his 100% or 145% tariff, I think, in the beginning of his first or second administration. The sad part about all this is that there's no end in sight with anything to do with what's going on in Iran. Lebanon, obviously, is a big issue with that because Donald Trump wants to negotiate with Netanyahu to say, hey, we need you to stop bombing in Lebanon because that's part of our ceasefire agreement and you're violating that. And if that is violation, if that continues to happen, then the ceasefire itself stops and then we're right back to a kinetic war. Bibi isn't listening. Let's just say that. Bibi's not listening. He's doing what he wants to do because he got us into this war, I think. And I don't think he wants us to leave anytime soon. And this is more of his issue specific to his place in the Middle East and the surrounding countries that have not been a big fan of him for many years now. So Yeah, I wish I had better news for my friends, specifically in the farming business, because it's been really scary to talk to some of these people. And then, the one-on-one conversations are different than the stuff we're reading from.
Yeah.
Sitting down and talking with farmers who have, third, fourth, fifth generation farms that they're very proud of. And these are not big farms, by the way. These, 1,000 acres, 2,000 acres. These are not huge farms. The farm my grandpa used to work when I was growing up, I think was 400 acres. And these are the typical farmers you read about growing up. They jump on their tractors.
These aren't the big agribusinesses.
No.
These are your mom and pop farms, just trying to, waking up at 5 every morning, working 18-hour days.
Yeah. All day, every day, till the sun drops, and then they go back and eat, and then they rinse and repeat. And they're very scared because, again, these are generational, and these farmers that I talk to specifically don't have any other skills. They've been doing this their whole life. They were born and raised on these farms. They watched their father go through exactly what they're now going through. There is some diversification there's some big pig farmers that I talk to that are doing well on that. But the guys that are planting soybeans, corn, and wheat, and the typical commodities, they're very scared for all the aforementioned reasons, right? The fertilizer itself, the price of their supplies, their maintenance, the upkeep on their tractors, their combines, all that stuff. It's pricey, and it's scaring them.
Okay. We'll get an update on that issue.
Yeah.
One of the other big questions that I've got right in front of me from one of our members, and many people ask this, what is about this golden calf?
It's probably good to end this on a little bit of a whimsical piece. So, in case you guys don't know, Donald Trump had a golden statue erected in his honor at Doral, which is one of his golf courses here in the United States. It's 22 feet. It weighs 7 tons. And if you guys aren't aware of the old story specific to the Bible.
With Moses.
Yeah. So Exodus 32, I'm a recovering Catholic, so I know a little bit about this story. It was when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the Bibles,
with 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments.
And he saw this golden calf that Aaron had built for the staff because they needed an idol to worship. Moses was pretty pissed, to paraphrase, and he shattered the tablets, and then he melted down the golden calf, and he made all of the Israelites drink it. So, not happy about that. Fast forward to 2026, Donald Trump has erected a calf.
Now, who gave this to him?
It was a gift, and the Pastor Mark Burns was the one orchestrating this piece at the Trump National Doral in Miami. And he said this, to quote, "Let me be clear, this is not a golden calf," he said. "This statue is a celebration of life. It is a symbol of resilience, freedom, patriotism, strength, and the willpower to keep fighting for the future of America." Now, this was the statue from Trump's attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, which is obviously awful, where he said, "Fight, fight, fight." And they wanted to capture that moment for the remainder of time to prove how brave he was. And in this circumstance, he was pretty brave, or foolish, but he was.
If the pastor has to say, this is not a golden calf,
yeah,
that's an issue.
Yeah.
Like, it reminds me of when Trump did that post a couple weeks ago, and he took it down because there was controversy of it.
The Jesus post?
The Jesus post.
Yeah.
So he's like, this, and then he comes out and he says, "I'm not being Jesus here." Right. It's like, don't tell people to not believe their eyes. So when I look at this 22-foot golden monument to Trump, like, how is that not a golden calf?
Well, it is. And I think that's the funny thing, too, is check this out. So there was a show called The Boys.
And oh, my God. Oh, it's a great show. My mom watches it.
So
she's 85, by the way, watching superhero stuff.
So Eric Kripke is, I guess, he put, "What the fuck? Seriously." And this idea, this is what he wrote on Instagram over the weekend.
Who is he?
He's the showrunner.
He's the showrunner. Okay.
And he said, "Seriously, what the fuck?" over a split image of a golden statue of Homelander from episode 6 of The Boys and the golden statue of Donald Trump. So in the 6th episode of the show, features a larger-than-life golden Homelander statue. The psychotic leader of the seven proclaims that he is the new Messiah following a visitation by an angel. So the showrunner, this was July of 2025, and he's saying everything that we put in here as parody about a ridiculous man trying to be the Messiah has now come to fruition.
I've seen that. The craziest thing about it is
here.
If you look at that statue that they had in that episode, I mean, it's obviously not the same pose as Trump.
No,
but
it's so close.
It is so close. Dude, it is so close. Like it's got...
I think because that was the JC view.
So they're like, this is not a golden calf. Trump is not Jesus in this post.
No.
The showrunner for The Boys has basically come out and say, now the character on the show is one of the worst characters, right?
Well, he's the Antichrist.
He's the Antichrist.
But this is Pastor Burns again, to continue this quote. We worship the Lord Jesus Christ and him alone, he wrote on his social media. Honor is not worship. Respect is not idolatry, and celebration is not bowing down to a false god. So
it's just not a golden.
It's right out of Central Casting. If you wanted to write a script about what isn't real, while you're actually looking at what is real, this just took place in our life as citizens of the United States of America. And yeah, I don't think there's not enough jokes. I mean, the good news is there's plenty of jokes now. The memes are going everywhere with this. But the idea, too, in case you haven't heard this, was that Donald Trump, who's never actually opened a Bible, much less written it.
No, he opened a Bible. I saw him open a Bible.
All right, true. But
he opened the Bible that he held upside down. If you don't remember, held it upside down when he was front of the church. And he opened the Bible that he put the Declaration of Independence in and the Bill of Rights. Because he sold that one.
In his defense, he's probably never seen a picture of Jesus. So if he didn't think he looked like Jesus, it actually might have been part of it. But I also heard this, and I have nothing to confirm this is true or not, but they said that either Caroline Leavitt or one of his comms people said, hey, Mr. President, say that the photo was doctored and that you had nothing to do with that. I don't know if that's true. And then he came out and said, oh, I was supposed to be a doctor. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's one of those things where I just can't get over how silly this whole thing is and how I thought it'd be good just to, run this story through the ringer to bring our members some fun.
That's the True 30-30 this week. And let's end it on this
sounds like a good idea, buddy.
Note of the golden calf.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Joey.
If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. Just go to true30.com. Let us know what your thoughts are and give us some ideas as far as more content you want to see. Cheers.